guy who picks up the garbage. Why doesn't he own a $2.7 million home in West Hollywood?
Because of right-wing ideology. Because of right-wing politicians in the Republican Party who consistently union bust, who consistently stop workers from being able to organize and bargain for better wages, who consistently shoot down any policy that would make their wages go up. So, Hypocrisy, socialist Twitch streamer buys $2.7 million house.
Oh!
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Hypocrisy? Socialism is when no house? Hasan? You know, we've heard this all before. This was like a controversy maybe almost a month ago, it feels like, by this point. Ben Shapiro finally got around to it, presumably because of the Twitch leaks that recently came out that exposed, I guess, just how much money the top earners on Twitch make. So if we look with our eyeballs, as a result of the leaks that were published on the illustrious Board 4 channel, we now know roughly, I mean, a lot of the people on this list has said, like, yes, this is relatively accurate. Twitch has acknowledged that there was, in fact, a data breach. So at this point, it seems like this is pretty legitimate. We've got total payouts from August 2019 to October 2021. And if we go through this, you know, we've got XQ Cow making $8 million. We've got Ludwig 3.2. We've got HasanAbi at a whopping 2.8, which, you know, was enough to cover the entire house purchase, ostensibly. So as a result of that, I assume that's what's revitalized this endless stun lock. But who knows? We'll see what Ben Shapiro has to say. So Ben Shapiro, as we all know, very good socialism understander. So we should get some nuanced takes here. Let's find out.
Truism of politics that hypocrisy is always newsworthy. Hypocrisy is always newsworthy. If somebody is a religious Christian and then they have an affair, this is a newsworthy event, according to the media. If there's a politician who's right-wing, that politician turns out to be gay. Really, really newsworthy, according to the media. But there's one area of hypocrisy that is just not newsworthy to the media. Like, truly not newsworthy. And that, of course, is if you are a socialist who's extremely wealthy and gives very little charity. If you are that person...
Wait, how do you know how much he gives to charity? What's really interesting about hypocrisy in a general sense is the fact that you cannot hypocrisy burn a right-winger. You can try, but it doesn't really do anything. The problem with hypocrisy and trying to hypocrisy burn the right is that the entire conservative and right-wing ideology is foundationally built upon a variety of fundamental hypocrisies. So as a result, hypocrisy only really seems to hurt the left wing. But that's, you know, presupposing that there's any hypocrisy here to begin with in Hasan's case. So let's let Ben Shapiro lay out his case.
Hypocrisy just doesn't play a part. Hypocrisy is never a problem because, after all, you're calling for societal change. You yourself don't have to abide by any of those rules because some animals are more equal than other animals. But the socialist has the benefit of the bargain because you get to be as socialist as you want to, like Bernie Sanders, and then you get to have a lake house. You get to be a millionaire while proclaiming that billionaires aren't paying the flesh up.
I'm sorry. He got a little bit, okay? He got the way, like, the old man kind of speech that Bernie does, but the actual imitation there, the actual attempt at an accent there, not very good, I have to say. At its most basic, I see right-wingers getting mad at socialists or anti-capitalists or leftists in general for being successful in capitalism as, like, a broader symptom of, like, envy. Because not only do you, as a socialist who happens to be doing well under a capitalist organization of the economy, get to continue to advocate and fight against the very system that you're doing well in, but you also happen to sometimes be doing capitalism better than a lot of the actual so-called self-avowed capitalists, which I think is a bit of an affront to right-wingers in general. Like the concept that you could do incredibly well in capitalism while pushing against it, advocating against it, educating people about alternatives to it. I guess it's just offensive for pro-capitalist types, for anti-capitalists to become successful under that system and not just flip over to being a capitalist. It's kind of like, why aren't you advocating for the current system if you're doing well under it? Because they like can't wrap their heads around like a potential different system. It's an interesting thing to analyze, why people get so mad about this.
Okay, so this issue has become relevant over the course of the past couple of days because a guy named Hasan Piker, who I believe used to be a Young Turks guy, I don't really know that much about him, he apparently...
Cap. I don't believe that. I don't believe he doesn't know much about him. I'm a HasanAbi head. I've been watching the dude since he had like 150 viewers. So maybe that's my bias. But I would imagine that Shapiro is aware of him, at least enough to know that he used to be on the Young Turks.
Is a socialist Twitch streamer. There's a big article, big glowing profile about him in New York Magazine titled Streaming with Hasan Piker, the AOC of Twitch. I'm a political...
I think I saw this headline. The AOC of Twitch. I still don't know what they meant by that. I'm a political commentator with, like, stands. Oh, God. It's a good picture, too. It's like when your mom walks in on you when you're, like, watching a TV show that you're not supposed to be watching or something. It's like... Anyway.
Okay, well, in the past few months, Hasan Piker, it turns out, has been revealed to be a very wealthy person, which is good for him.
What do you mean revealed? I don't know how far back you have to go, but Hasan used to have a sub goal on his banner all the time. It would look like this. Ready? It would look like, say, he had 100 subs, and there'd be a goal to get to 500. So it would be 100 subs out of 500 he had for a while, and now it just shows, like, whatever it is, 40,000. And then there's a slash, and it just moved off the screen, the goal, because he doesn't push the goal anymore, because he doesn't have to. A lot of the top streamers do this. Mizkif does this. I don't know if Ludwig does. Trainwrecks does. There's a lot of people. It just is like a common thing for people to do sub goals, because obviously, you know, you're trying to make a career out of live streaming on Twitch. But regardless, it's been public information for a long time. You could do the math to find out how much money he would get, either at the 50-50 split, or obviously he has a renegotiated contract, so he gets a better split for the $5 subs. You could easily do the math and figure it out. How much money per month he would get. So the fact that it was newly revealed is not necessarily accurate.
There's a lot of folks who are following him over at Twitch. That is his prerogative, and I'm glad for him that he's been able to build a following. But a couple of times in the last month, it's been revealed that this out and out socialist, I mean, this is what he calls himself, that he is a very wealthy man. Piker, who is 30, had purchased a $2.7 million house in West Hollywood, and Piker was prepared to take on the interlopers who logged on to see the fireworks. Quote, "The only reason my house is expensive is because of the area I live in," he growled. "Are you guys really that stupid?"
Growled?
That's not even a response to the charge. The charge is that for a socialist, you seem to be spending large, my friend. It doesn't, like, you could have, there are a lot of places that are not in West Hollywood that don't cost $2.7 million. They're all over the United States. You can get yourself a tiny little shack and live yourself the Henry David Thoreau lifestyle for probably 30 grand somewhere. $2.7 million bucks, a lot of money.
I swear to God, to conservatives, being a socialist means like living like Ted Kaczynski, where you just have a shack in the woods and you don't buy anything. You like give all your money away, which is not, what socialism is. Socialism is not like an equalization of everybody's wealth. There are still going to be, under the current capitalist organization of our economy, people who think that capitalism is kind of stinky, but do very well with that. Obviously, you would want somebody to do as much as they could with that amount of wealth to help other people in kind of like a pseudo redistributive way, or like you donate to charities or whatever, which is, still a pretty capitalist idea, like charity in general, philanthropy. But you're also caught in like a catch-22 kind of situation where if you claim to be a socialist and you do donate to charity or to whatever group, if you make it public, you're going to be called a clout demon who's only doing it for the publicity, who's only doing it for the PR, because that's what, wealthy capital owners do to cleanse their own image. So they're projecting their understanding of that. But also, if you don't make it public, you're going to be called a snake and, that you don't donate, and nobody's ever going to believe that you do donate unless you make it public. So like you're stuck in this weird limbo where you can literally never win, not because of your own hypocrisy, but because of the imagined hypocrisy from people who don't understand what they're talking about.
That out to all of the immiserated workers in the Marxist social construct, right? That's the charge. And his response is, well, of course it's expensive around here. This is West Hollywood, which of course is not
where all his friends and family live. So I guess the option is then that you need to uproot your entire life, move to some other place that costs less, still get shit on for any house purchase you make there. Don't get me wrong. You're still going to get shit for buying a house no matter where it is. And then either take your friends and family with you or have to, move to and from to visit them all the time. Because, like, he's not only housing himself, so this is probably not something Ben Shapiro cares to bring up, but his mom is also going to be living with him. I'm sure his family members will be able to come and live with him if they need to, or if they're staying by or vacationing, whatever. But, like, I don't know that it even matters. Because, like, if he moved to, like, Utah, to the middle of nowhere, to buy a house on the cheap, you could probably get a more extravagant house in a place like Utah for less money. So, like, even though it would be less money, the house itself is still extravagant. It's still very gaudy, I would imagine, in a lot of places. So, like, you're still gonna get shit on for that anyway. So, like, is it the house that's actually the problem? Is it the dollar amount that's the problem? Is it both? I'm not too sure, because they would give him shit either way, which is why this isn't an actual argument. Right-wingers would probably shit their pants even if Hasan moved to the middle of nowhere? Yeah, exactly. It is simply because they do not throat the same boots, the same capital owner boots that Ben Shapiro has to because of his ideology, that they get mad at Hasan.
Piker said 3 weeks later, quote, as long as you don't defang your core values, as long as you're still speaking truth to power, then F them. Yeah, speaking truth to power is being the guy who buys the $3 million house and does interviews with New York Magazine.
Because that's the only advocacy that Hasan does. What is this incredibly reductive take? The only advocacy for alternatives to capitalism that Hasan does is buying a $2.7 million home and getting interviewed by people because he's trending on Twitter multiple times a month. No, that's not what he does. I watch Hasan regularly, okay? I'm biased, excuse me. I happen to enjoy the program. And he is constantly signal boosting creators who do anti-capitalist content, who provide those alternatives, while also doing that kind of content himself. For the job that Hasan does, which is a political commentator, a pundit, the only way I could imagine that he like steps outside of the bounds of his values is if he started like pushing pro-capitalist ideology, or if he started like shit-talking leftism in a general sense in a variety of things.
He says, I don't give a bleep. I'm doing this in the least exploitative way you functionally effing can. Really? He says, it's my labor. I'm the one who's streaming for 10 hours. Welcome to capitalism, my dude. It's my labor? Yes, whose labor? So, in other words...
Wait, where's the argument? It is his labor. Now, of course, Hasan does not own Amazon Web Services or Twitch or Amazon, so he doesn't own all of the means of the production for his labor, but he is the one who is live for 10 hours a day. He is the one who is giving his political commentary and entertaining and educating his fans. Now, you could make an argument that like, oh, well, the infrastructure to allow Amazon Web Services to run still exploits people, etc., but there's only so much you can do to get away from that.
You've done really well, and you believe that you deserve to keep the proceeds of that labor. But aren't you exploiting all the people who are engaged in commerce with you? After all, what service of value are you providing them?
Entertainment for 10 hours a day? As far as I'm aware, I could be wrong on this figure, the average Twitch viewer watches their favorite streamer for 7 hours before they move on to someone else. So at a minimum, you could imagine that the average Hasan viewer is getting 7 hours of content. I think that is something people would be willing to pay $5 a month for. In fact, 40,000 plus people do.
You are Twitch streaming video games.
Hasan's a video game streamer. Imagine, dude, that's some copium. That is some high-grade, homegrown copium. Hasan does not play video games. Hasan has been starving his gaming frogs. Hasan has been doing war crimes on his gaming viewers for so long, like for several months even. There's no shot that you have any right to call Hasan a video game streamer. He does just chatting. He does political commentary, and he does normie react content. And sometimes he plays video games, but it's incredibly rare. Some major leap copium, but I wouldn't expect Ben to know about that, right?
Is that a vital social service? What makes that service significantly more important, socially speaking, from a Marxist perspective, than the guy who picks up the garbage? Why doesn't he own a $2.7 million home in West Hollywood?
Because of right-wing ideology, because of conservatives, because of right-wing politicians in the Republican Party who consistently union bust, who consistently stop workers from being able to organize and bargain for better wages, who consistently shoot down any policy that would make their wages go up. That's why your local garbage man or your local service worker is not able to buy a $2.7 million home because of people like you, Ben. Because of the people that follow you and vote for politicians who agree with you, Ben. Not because a socialist streamer is making money and is able to buy himself a house, Ben.
But unlike most of the platform's top users, Piker mostly talks politics. He trawls through Twitter and roasts bad takes from career right-wing correspondents like Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson. He breaks down hawkish New York Times op-eds line by line, steadily working himself into a
I wonder if Ben only looked at this article because he's quoted in it, or he's mentioned in it.
Frothy fury. It's free associative and open-ended. I have an accelerated version of brainworms, he says. I'm literally always online. I'm consuming media non-stop. Fans don't need to have studied Marx to understand where Piker is coming from. Well, they might have to read Marx to understand why Piker is violating core tenets of Marxism.
I mean, you would also, Ben, and I highly doubt you have, because he hasn't. This is the level of Marxist analysis that Ben Shapiro has. I'm pretty sure this is about as much as Ben understands of Marxism or assumes it to be.
Later in this little SOP piece, he talks about the tax the rich dress that AOC wore. And here's what he said, quote, I think the Met Gala is a disgusting, gluttonous exercise. And if given the opportunity to go, I'd do it in an effing heartbeat. I'm sorry, everyone would. Why wouldn't you want to hang out with Frank Ocean? They're not going to the effing Davos summit. Well, but yes, they are. What do you think the Met Gala is? It is a bunch of rich liberals who are getting together to feat themselves for their rich liberalism.
Feat themselves? You know, I have to say, I'm not one to look too deep into these kinds of things, but the fact that only several seconds after Ben Shapiro mentioned AOC, he makes some sort of reference to feet, incredibly suspect to me. They were talking about Hasan playing Among Us with AOC, and I have to say that little slip was a bit sussy. I don't know about that one. That's a little interesting. I don't know, Ben. I don't know. That's a bit odd. That's a little sus.
The media are not interested in calling out hypocrisy. The reason I say
By the way, yeah, why would you not go to the Met Gala as an anti-capitalist if it gives you an opportunity to promote your values? It's like if you get invited to the Met Gala and you are somebody who's constantly trying to be in the media because you're trying to spread your values and gain support for policies you support so that you can get them implemented, etc. That's your goal. If you're like Hasan and you are a, content creator online, going to the Met Gala, it also makes a lot of sense because you get a lot of exposure, clout, and potential more eyeballs for your program. Obviously, yes, you're going to go there. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Okay, so there was a Twitch data leak. Here's how it was reported from the New York Times. Twitch, the live video site popular with gamers, said on Wednesday it had endured a data breach that security researchers believe may have provided sweeping insight into the platform's computer code, security vulnerabilities, and payment to its content creators. Buried way down in this article, is this little revelation. Quote, according to the list of earnings, which could not be independently verified, some notable personalities had made millions of dollars since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
One streamer, Hasan Piker, anticipated people getting angry about the amount of money the list said he had made.
Mm-hmm.
Just woke up to some fun news, he tweeted. Can't wait for people to be mad at me about my publicly available sub count again. And then he trended. He said, bro, come on.
Okay.
It never says in here what exactly Hasan Piker made. Okay, now, let's just put it this way. It makes headlines every time a conservative signs a contract. Okay, if the IRS information of conservative commentators were leaked, you think that wouldn't be front page news? It would absolutely be front page news, and it wouldn't be.
Pardon my ignorance, perhaps. I don't know that you can necessarily compare the Internal Revenue Service and documents related to it to the payout history of a private corporation via Amazon and Twitch. For some reason, I feel like these things are a little different. The leak was from an anonymous user on 4chan. Now, as of right now, I'm pretty sure Twitch has acknowledged that there was a data breach. I don't know that they've said, yes, all of this information is one-to-one accurate. I'm not too sure how much they've said in regards to that. But as far as I'm aware, a lot of Twitch streamers are saying, yes, a lot of the dollar amounts being cited are accurate. And a news service can't just immediately run with that information as if it's correct. I can imagine why certain outlets would want to wait so that they don't push misinformation and wait for Twitch to confirm more or Amazon to confirm more about it before they go full in on all of the data cited. Whereas if it's IRS, like Internal Revenue Service documents, that's a whole ass federal government, program, an organization. You would imagine that those would be slightly more credible and easily verifiable by the IRS. It would be easier for them to verify rather than an anonymous 4chan user.
What it would be about was the amount of money that everybody was making. How do we know this? Because the front page of every major newspaper this week was about what international figures made via IRS documents that were leaked.
Yeah,
right?
The Pandora Papers, which is infinitely more interesting and consequential. Nobody gives a fuck how much XQ Cow makes slamming the fart on Twitch and playing video games, dude. Nobody cares. The only person on that list that people actually gave a fuck about was Hasan because of his political views and the content that he makes. The Pandora Papers are infinitely more consequential. There's like world leaders in that, and we're focusing on this shit for some reason.
So, what exactly did these leaked documents show? It showed that Hasan apparently rakes in about $3 million a year by doing his Twitch streaming, which is a lot of money.
True.
It's a lot more money than your average day-to-day Marxist lower-class worker, right? The social class of people who are doing.
So is Hasan the one that's keeping them in that position? Because I don't know what you expect him to do. Like, do you think that Hasan should set up a fund where you can opt in and you can get, some of the money that he makes? That's an interesting idea. I mean, I would sign up. Outside of the advocacy that he does, at least 4 hours a day, turning so many people on to these different political viewpoints that they don't normally hear in mainstream media, being as popular as he is and as much of a force for socialist ideology as he is, they just want him to live in a shack in the middle of nowhere and, give all his money away to who knows who.
The actual labor that is being exploited. Why isn't that the headline? The reason that isn't the headline is because socialists are never held to their own standards. They are never held to their own standards. See, here's the thing.
I think that's what we're actually seeing is that the standards that Ben Shapiro wants socialists to be held to are not actually the standards that they should be held to, because it is based on the foundation of an imagined hypocrisy that doesn't actually exist, and therefore it's unfalsifiable. They're making the shit up as they go. So you can never argue against it. You can never win because they're essentially playing Mad Libs with whatever supposed hypocrisy that socialists have.
If you actually held to your standard, then you would presumably be very concerned with giving away a lot of your money to charity or ensuring that the amount of money that you made for your socially useless service, according to Marxist theory, because of course your labor should be judged by some outside metric that is not the market.
Wait, does Ben Shapiro think under Marxism or socialism, entertainment wouldn't be a thing? Socialism is when no video games. Socialism is when no movies. Socialism is when no music. Is that what he thinks? Because political commentary and live streaming, live broadcasting, is a form of entertainment. That's the kind of product that it is. That would still exist under a socialist organization of the economy, Ben.
Why exactly it is more valuable for a guy to sit around and stream video games than it is for somebody to clean toilets.
Once again, if socialists had their way, the people who clean toilets would be making more money than they are right now. By a large margin. It is because of people like Ben that they don't. It's because people who have ideology like Ben that they don't.
I can explain it because market says that's what it's worth. Things are worth what people say they are worth. But I'm not sure how, from a Marxist perspective, you can make that case. I also am not sure how you defend a $2.7 million home or a $3 million income for doing those things and then say it's my labor. No. That's.
But it is his labor. He's the one doing it.
It is amusing to watch the media play this game. You're a hypocrite. If you are a right-winger who abrogates your own principles, if you're a left-wing socialist who earns millions of dollars for talking online, then you are not a hypocrite in any way. By the way, if you're a left-wing outlet that rails against the evils of capitalism while taking millions of dollars from hedge funds and YouTube, you're not a hypocrite either. That's the way this works. Nobody has to hold you to account or point out that you need to, if you are Young Turks, for example, and you attempt to crush your own unionization efforts, right? If you are the outlet for unionization.
That was pretty fucked, I agree.
Is the only thing that matters.
But they did get a lot of shit for that, especially from the left.
And like a couple of years ago, it turns out that
Hasan supported the unionization effort at TYT and advocated against the crushing of it.
Your place are trying to unionize, and you yell at them not to unionize.
But also, TYT aren't socialists. They're at best social democrats, which is still a pro-capitalist ideology.
Nobody seems to care very much about that. Here's my capitalist view of all this. Congratulations. to Hasan on earning his business success. I hope he enjoys his $2.7 million house.
So why are you mad? Why are you mad?
$200,000 of earned income every month. I hope he enjoys it to the fullest of his ability and lives a happy, fulfilling capitalist life.
But you better start advocating for capitalism, or I'm going to continue to throw uneducated feces at you for clicks and views.
But please stop pretending that you are a good Marxist if you don't live like a Marxist and justify yourself in capitalist terms.
Like that's, yeah, and once again, that's exactly what it is. So once again, to recap, Hasan is able to be as successful as he is and make as much money as he is because of the work that absolute cretins like Ben Shapiro and other right-wing ideologues have done in order to make sure the wealthy don't pay their taxes, to reduce the amount of taxes that they have to pay on paper by, not advocating for the closing of loopholes, by continuing to advocate against minimum wage hikes. If you want to make Hasan mad, if you want to force him to live by his supposed Marxist values, then raise taxes on the wealthy. Make sure that taxes on his income bracket and every bracket above it and some brackets below it go up. And then make sure we redistribute those funds gained from there to social safety net programs like, Medicare for all, or another kind of single payer healthcare system like, publicly funded higher education. Do that, and maybe you could force Hasan to live by his values. It is not any kind of hypocrisy that right-wingers are mad at here. It is an imagined hypocrisy. They are only mad that he is not pushing pro-capitalist ideology. That's the only thing. That's the only problem. That's the only discernible argument I can find from any of this anytime it comes up. That's it. This video's conure callout is Boos. Thank you for the support, and thanks for giving your gift sub away to the community. It's very nice of you. If you'd like to be the next conure callout, all you gotta do is follow me on Twitter @ConureCC, retweet my video links when they go live. Oh, and also smash that like button and hit the subscribe. Also, leave a comment below. Helps a lot. Bye.